Last college women's basketball season, Samaria, Caitlin Clark had the sport by the throat. Iowa women's basketball was must-see TV, and if they were in a town, it was packed out in that arena, okay? The fan investment into Caitlin followed her to the WNBA, and viewership numbers for her games were sky high. Her mere presence alone helped several teams break attendance records, and in some instances, teams chose to actually move games to larger venues to accommodate the fanfare of Caitlin coming to town.
Geno Auriemma is furious. UConn games are seeing empty stands, while Caitlin Clark's name echoes in packed arenas across the country, even after her graduation. But this story isn't just about numbers. It's about a decision Geno made years ago, a decision that might now be his biggest regret. For decades, Geno Auriemma was untouchable, or let's say his teams were. UConn teams set the gold standard in women's basketball, but recently, cracks have started to appear. Attendance at UConn games is plummeting, with some matchups drawing fewer than 600 fans.
Yesterday, in a game in the Bahamas, UConn played for 567 people.
Meanwhile, over at Iowa, the Hawkeyes average 15,000 live fans per game, maintaining their grip on fan interest even without Clark on the court.
A needle mover. The biggest draw in American sports today, CC22, Caitlin Clark Kent. That's just the truth.
And then there's Clark herself, the player Geno doubted, dismissed, and overlooked. Her rise has been nothing short of historic, and her impact has left fans wondering, did Geno's misstep cost him more than he's willing to admit? How did Caitlin Clark go from being ignored by UConn to redefining the future of women's basketball? And what is Geno's reaction to his team drawing less than 600 fans? Let's break it down.
Two things happen. One, they fall in love with all my players because of the way they play and the way they conduct themselves. And they go, yeah, he really is a shithead.
Let's talk numbers. UConn basketball has long been synonymous with packed arenas and electric crowds. For years, the Huskies weren't just a basketball program, they were an institution. Fans traveled from all over to watch stars like Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, and Brianna Stewart dominate the court. Sellouts weren't just common, they were expected. But today, the story couldn't be more different.
Paige Bueckers goes to the Bahamas, 500 people. And repeat, 500. 500 people. They are playing in what looks to be, you can see there's a stage. Oh my God, they're not even playing on a in a basketball gym. They're literally playing in like what looks to be an auditorium.
Just yesterday, UConn played in front of a mere 567 fans in the Bahamas. Yes, you heard that right, 567. For a program with as much prestige as UConn, that number is almost unthinkable. Before you say, because it was in the Bahamas, this decline wasn't an isolated incident. The Huskies' home games, which once boasted a near-cult following, now average between 4,000 and 6,000 fans per game. A steep decline from the days when they'd regularly sell out. Meanwhile, Iowa tells a very different story. Even without Caitlin Clark on the court, the Hawkeyes are averaging a staggering 15,000 fans per game this season. That's more than double UConn's best attendance numbers. This isn't just loyalty, it's a reflection of Clark's lasting impact. Her influence transformed Iowa into a must-watch program, creating a culture of engagement that endures long after her departure.
Fumble of the week. Doing all that talking online, but when it comes to the proof, it is in the pudding. When it comes to the numbers, when it comes to the black and the white, are you in the black or are you in the red? Are you showing up or are you bluffing?
So, what's really behind UConn's attendance drop? Some argue it's the team's recent struggles to dominate like they used to. UConn's hold on women's basketball has loosened in recent years, with programs like South Carolina, Iowa, and LSU stealing the spotlight. Others point to an evolving fan base, fans who crave excitement, star power, and the kind of jaw-dropping plays that players like Clark bring to the table. Still, there's another layer to this story that's impossible to ignore. Many fans can't help but wonder, did Geno's own decisions, both on and off the court, play a role in UConn's fall from grace? After all, Caitlin Clark, the player who could have injected energy and excitement back into UConn's program, never even got an offer from the legendary coach.
The reality of the situation, it really hits when you see they're like, oh, the fans need to spend more money. The reality is fans need to spend money the way they want to spend money. If a fan wants to see a player, they can see a player. Like, it's not the fault of a fan of Juju Watkins who doesn't want to pay to see her play. It's not the fault of a fan of Paige Bueckers who doesn't want to pay to see her play. just because fans of Caitlin Clark will pay to see her play. Like, that's the reality situation. Is it's nothing to, there's never blame the consumer or the viewer for what they like.
For years, Geno Auriemma was unmatched, a mastermind whose decisions were rarely questioned. But overlooking Clark might go down as one of his most pivotal missteps. The player who wasn't seen as UConn material went on to captivate the basketball world, leaving UConn fans asking, what if? To truly understand how this all unraveled, we need to dive deeper into the story of Caitlin Clark's rise and the decision that Geno might regret the most.
Geno Auriemma. Caitlin Clark again. The world turns. It's Caitlin Clark's world. We just live on planet Caitlin. Geno, baby, if Caitlin Clark is on the team, it becomes the right team. Because Caitlin Clark is on it. It's like saying Michael Jordan's not on the right team. It's the right team if Michael Jordan is on the roster.
Let's rewind to where this story truly begins. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a star in high school. She was a phenomenon. As a recruit, her talent was undeniable. A guard with deep range, incredible vision, and an aggressive scoring mentality, she was exactly the kind of player coaches dream of building a program around. She was ranked among the top prospects nationwide, drawing offers from powerhouse programs like Notre Dame, Oregon, Texas, and Iowa. Everyone saw her potential. Well, almost everyone, because there was one glaring omission from her list of suitors: UConn. That's right, Geno Auriemma, the coach whose program defined women's basketball excellence for decades, didn't offer Clark a scholarship. It shocked fans and analysts alike. Why? Some reports suggest that Geno doubted whether Clark's style of play, her high-risk, high-reward three-pointers and flashy passes, would fit UConn's system. Historically, UConn has thrived on disciplined, team-oriented basketball, and Clark's free-flowing game seemed like a gamble.
Wants to know, if Caitlin Clark played for Geno, would he let her shoot logo threes?
Should I answer that?
Go ahead.
Hell no.
Okay.
Like, he didn't even let us dribble. Like,
Not thigh passes to the side.
we were playing triangle, pass, screen away, pinch post.
I bet we came off five pick and rolls our whole career.
Others speculate that Geno simply underestimated her ability to dominate at the college level. His public reason? Because he already recruited Paige Bueckers, and according to him, Paige was better. Whatever the reason, UConn passed on Clark, leaving her to choose between other top programs. In the end, she selected Iowa, a school not typically mentioned in the same breath as basketball giants. Clark didn't just thrive at Iowa, she transformed the program. By her sophomore year, she was shattering records, and by her junior year, she led the Hawkeyes to the Final Four. But it wasn't just about her stats. It was the way she played. Her deep threes, no-look passes, and fearless leadership turned Iowa into must-watch television. Fans who had never cared about women's basketball were suddenly tuning in just to see what Clark would do next.
Listen, you talk about players that change the game when they're on the court, whether they're touching the ball or not. You have to guard her when she steps into the gym. And so I don't think we've seen anything like that in women's basketball. I've played against a number of great shooters.
Yes.
Somebody that when they walk in the gym, you have to guard them. And I think the way the game is played has allowed her to showcase that skill, to be able to take that shot. That shot's being a good shot. It speaks to where basketball is right now.
And then came the moment that might still haunt Geno. The 2024 NCAA Final Four. Clark and Iowa faced off against UConn in a game that many saw as a symbolic passing of the torch. For years, UConn had been the gold standard in women's basketball, but Clark changed that. She didn't just lead Iowa to a victory, she dominated, leaving no doubt that she was the best player on the court. After the game, fans couldn't help but ask, what if? What if Geno had recruited Clark? Could she have brought that same energy and excitement to UConn, reinvigorating the program at a time when it desperately needed a spark? For Geno, it wasn't just a missed opportunity. It was a decision that rewrote the narrative of women's basketball. If you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. We know watching this video takes some of your time, and we appreciate you. Now back to the action.
Like I said earlier, they actually had odds that, she was like third or fourth in the betting odds to be MVP of the WNBA. That's such a slap in the face to every WNBA player. It's unbelievable, right?
When Caitlin Clark declared for the WNBA draft, Geno had plenty to say, and none of it was encouraging. The legendary coach dismissed her chances of succeeding in the league, questioning her physicality and decision-making. "She's just not built for the WNBA," he said on one talk show. "Those deep threes and circus shots, they won't fly against tougher, more athletic defenders."
That's the worst part about new fans. You know, they have no perspective. There's no context. So they just say ridiculous nonsense.
And Geno wasn't alone. Critics painted her as a high-risk player whose college dominance might fade against the faster, stronger competition of the WNBA. Diana Taurasi, one of Geno's most celebrated protégés, echoed these concerns, claiming Clark might face a rude awakening in the league. But Caitlin Clark, she stayed quiet. No rebuttals. No social media clapbacks. Instead, she let her game do the talking. And what a statement she made. Clark didn't just meet expectations in her rookie season with the Indiana Fever. She shattered them, averaging 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. She became the clear choice for Rookie of the Year. She didn't stop there. Clark led the league in assists and guided the Fever to their first playoff appearance since 2016. Along the way, she became the only rookie in WNBA history to record not just one, but multiple triple-doubles, showcasing her all-around dominance.
You never know how quickly they're going to adapt to the WNBA game coming from college. And I think that Caitlin has done surprisingly well, how quickly she's adapted to this game. There's a lot of doubters out there, as we all know, and she has proved them all wrong.
The memes and online buzz came next. Social media exploded with posts poking fun at Geno's earlier doubts. One tweet paired a highlight reel of Clark's deep threes with the caption, "This aged like milk." Another simply asked, "How's that WNBA physicality working out for you, Geno?" One of the most viral posts juxtaposed Geno's scathing quotes with Clark's celebratory Rookie of the Year photo, captioned, "Talk less, watch more." Fans weren't the only ones noticing. Analysts hailed Clark as a generational talent, with some comparing her impact to LeBron James's rookie season. WNBA veterans were equally impressed, admitting they hadn't seen anything like her before. Clark's ability to take over games, inspire her teammates, and consistently fill arenas made her not just a star, but the face of the league's next generation. Then came the plot twist. Geno Auriemma, the same coach who doubted her so publicly, began singing her praises. In interviews, he called her a game changer and one of the most remarkable players we've ever seen. The sudden shift left fans scratching their heads.
The college career that Caitlin had ignited a tremendous amount of attention, an incredible phenomenon that very rarely happens, and it certainly changed the landscape, no question.
Geno's tone toward Caitlin Clark has shifted dramatically. The same coach who once dismissed her as not built for the WNBA is now one of her loudest cheerleaders. In recent interviews, he's called Clark a generational talent, a game changer, and even better than Paige Bueckers. But why the change of heart? Is this a genuine recognition of Clark's talent? Or is there something else driving Geno's newfound praise? Let's break it down. First, there's the timing. Geno's compliments began rolling in shortly after Clark's historic rookie season in the WNBA. Clark wasn't just a great player. She was a cultural icon, credited with bringing new fans to the WNBA and elevating its profile. For Geno, continuing to criticize her risked alienating fans and tarnishing his legacy.
I think one of the things that makes Caitlin Clark, who she is the way she is with people. She connects with people, and people connect with her.
But here's where things get even more interesting. Geno's sudden admiration coincides with his involvement in the new 3-on-3 basketball league, Unrivaled. The league, co-founded by stars like Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, aims to provide a high-paying off-season alternative for WNBA players. Geno isn't just a supporter, he's an investor, and the success of Unrivaled hinges on star power. Who better to headline its inaugural season than Caitlin Clark, the most marketable name in women's basketball?
There's a lot of investors in this league. One investor, been trying to keep quiet about, his investment in the league ever since his comments that he made about a young rookie. Pretty much, had him in the headlines for about a month and a half. That is Geno Auriemma, dog. I'm here to tell you, he's part owner of this league.
Reports suggest that Unrivaled made an aggressive push to recruit Clark, offering her a lucrative contract rumored to exceed $1 million. Social media campaigns and cryptic hints about 22, Clark's jersey number, only fueled speculation. Fans were convinced she'd join, but when the roster reveal came, Clark's name was conspicuously absent. Her decision to decline sent shockwaves through the basketball world. For Geno, this was more than just a missed opportunity. It was a direct blow to his investment. Without Clark, Unrivaled faces an uphill battle to capture fan interest, and Geno's frustration didn't go unnoticed. Sources close to the league described him as visibly upset when Clark's decision became public. On social media, fans were quick to connect the dots. Memes featuring Geno's earlier criticisms and Clark's rejection went viral, with captions like, "Geno bet the house on Clark and she said no."
She has decided not to do Unrivaled, even though Aaliyah Boston's doing it, Lexi Hull is doing it, Kate Martin is doing it, and despite all the rumors, and I'm sure the push that was put on her. But Clark has all the leverage in this situation, and I'm not saying she flexed it, but she was comfortable enough in her position to make the decision, and it appears that answer is no.
So why did Clark turn down Unrivaled? According to insiders, the decision was simple: rest. After her relentless senior season at Iowa and a record-breaking rookie year in the WNBA, Clark prioritized recovery over more basketball. Her rejection wasn't personal. It was practical. But for Geno and the league, her absence looms large. Ultimately, Geno's newfound praise for Clark raises more questions than it answers. Is he genuinely in awe of her talent? Or was this part of an elaborate pitch to recruit her to Unrivaled? Either way, Clark's decision to decline has left Geno and Unrivaled in a tough spot. Caitlin Clark's journey is more than just a basketball story. It's a masterclass in resilience, vision, and knowing your worth. From being overlooked by Geno Auriemma to becoming the brightest star in the WNBA, Clark has defined her own path. And in doing so, she's changed the game for women's basketball.
My expectation is to be one of the best players in the world one day. I wouldn't expect anything less than that.
More history for the FIBA rookie.
At this point, continue to be myself, and I think a lot of good will come from that.
For Geno, the story is more complicated. His decision to pass on recruiting Clark might go down as one of the biggest missed opportunities in college basketball history. His public criticism of her only fueled the narrative, casting him as a doubter in a time when Clark was proving herself as a generational talent. And now, as he shifts to praising her, fans are left questioning whether his admiration is genuine or part of a strategic move tied to his investment in Unrivaled. Meanwhile, Clark's decision to prioritize rest over the glitz of Unrivaled sends a powerful message. She's in control of her career. By setting her boundaries and focusing on what truly matters, her health, her game, and her future, she's showing athletes everywhere that success isn't just about saying yes to every opportunity. Sometimes it's about having the courage to say no.
Obviously, they've tried to do everything they could to make the most of the situation. They tried to make the most of Caitlin Clark not playing by hinting everything and basically making people think that Caitlin Clark was going to play.
But what does this all mean for the future? For UConn, it's a wake-up call. The program that once defined dominance in women's basketball now finds itself grappling with dwindling attendance and the missed chance to build around a once-in-a-lifetime player. For Unrivaled, the challenge is clear. Without Clark, the league's success rests on finding other stars who can draw the kind of attention she does effortlessly. And for Geno, it's a reminder that even legends aren't immune to mistakes or the consequences that follow. As fans, we're left watching one of the most fascinating narratives in sports unfold. Caitlin Clark is just getting started, and her influence on and off the court is already reshaping women's basketball in ways that will be felt for generations. And as for Geno, well, only time will tell if he can turn this story around. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.